Matt, what is it you think you need to see from players and staff over these next 5 weeks? It's obviously been a tough stretch here for you guys as you finish the season to kind of know that you're progressing.
Yeah, I'm not thinking about any of that, to be honest with you. Think about this week. When our guys have played well, we've been a good team. So I'm not, looking at like next week or the week after. I think that's one of our, to be quite honest with you, that's one of the things I've tried to instill in the guys, and I think we're getting closer to it. Just completely focused on this week in Atlanta. And what I want to see from this week is a team that's focused, that we had a great practice just now. We had a really nice practice on Monday, good meetings. So, we're down some guys. We have some guys injured. Some guys are going to have to step up. So I just want to see guys go out there, coach and staff, coach their best, players play their best, and play our best game this Sunday.
We're only on Wednesday, but Michael Jordan and John Miller didn't practice. Do you anticipate them being out, or are they still a possibility?
I think John, like last week, will probably be out, and there's a small possibility for Michael maybe.
In that case,
in terms of who I would play, we'd have Brady up, we'd have Deontay Brown is back, Dennis Daly, Cam Irving's returning to play, so Austin Pleasance we elevated last week, so it'd be some mixture of those guys, but pretty good chance that the three of the starters that played against Atlanta the last time won't play.
Matt, did you say, just to be clear, small possibility on Michael?
Possibly. I'm not holding out a ton of hope for that, though.
And would you think Cam would slide back in and tackle? A couple COVID cases, were those independent of each other?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
When you look at Atlanta right now, they've just been struggling some offensively. I know they've got some guys down too, but what do you see out of them offensively, and particularly Cordell Patterson has been playing?
Well, Cordell Patterson's one of my favorite players to watch in the National Football League. I loved him as a kick returner. We played him last year. Excellent tailback, dynamic receiver, and he brings a lot of obviously difficulties to the defense because he can do all three things. They can be in a multitude of different personnel groupings. Kyle Pitts is another guy. He's a tight end. He's a receiver. Zacchaeus, Gage. They have a lot of other guys who can make plays. Mike Davis is a guy we have a lot of familiarity with, and then they have Matt Ryan. This league, goes as the quarterback goes, and he's one of the premier quarterbacks in the league. And I think for us, they have an excellent running game, wide zone running game. That's something that at times has given us trouble. So we have to play really well up front to stop the run, whether it be Mike or Cordell. Take away the play-action passing game, which they're excellent at. They do a great job of getting guys open. So those are the two areas I think that we're seeing from them that they're doing at a high level, and they really mix their run and play action. There's not a lot of tells. They do an excellent job.
How would you gauge Cam's aptitude in the offense coming off the bye week?
Improved. We just have to have a plan that Cam feels comfortable with, and he has to just go out and play well.
I meant to ask about Cam Irving. Do you think he'd be available this week, man?
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Yep, Cam. I think there's a chance. We go through the practices, but he practiced out there today, looked good, so I think there's a chance Cam will be back.
How would you describe Jeff Nixon as a play caller?
I don't know how to describe play callers. He's going to play to the guy's strengths. He's disciplined. He's not emotional. That's one of the things I like best about Jeff is that he's even keel. He doesn't get too high or too low. And the biggest thing that I want to see from him, in addition to the staff, is our ability to adjust when people do something different. I think that's, I think coming out of the half in the third quarter, right, as I said last week, we've only scored 18 points on the whole year. Another 7 on a pump block. So I'd like to see us be a team that adjusts as the game goes on and reacts to how people are playing us, because of the weapons that we have. Now, obviously Christian being down, but because of DJ, his success, Christian's success, Robbie, different quarterbacks, people come into the game and they try to take away different things. And I think the mark, to me, it's never really quite as much play calling as it is adjusting to what they're doing and probing and finding the things that work. So I think that Jeff is, as I said, very even keel. He's about the right things, technique, detail, but I do think he and the offensive staff will do a good job of reacting to, hey, this is what I think that they're going to do, and then they get in the game, and Coach Pease might do something different, and we have to adjust to that, and that's something I know that Jeff can do.
You touched on the offensive side for Atlanta. Can you talk about their defense?
Yeah, to me, it all starts with Grady Jarrett. He's one of the best players in the National Football League, complete and total dominance at the three technique position. Obviously, Fowler's back for them. He's, basically their whole front. They play with an aggressiveness, and we faced them the first time. They were a cover 2 base team, mixed in a little bit of 1 high. They're playing more man now. They're pressuring. They drafted Terrell last year at a high, early in the draft, so they're trusting those guys to play. So aggressive front, linebackers who can run, that can cover, and a lot of different looks. Man zone. So they've evolved since we played them the first time. So it'll be a challenge for Jeff, the staff, for Cam, for the offense to see, hey, here's how they're going to play us, and make sure that we're in the right place.
You know Jeff a long time. What are some of your earliest memories of, I guess, going back to high school?
Yeah, I mean, I knew Jeff obviously in high school and then in college, and then I didn't really see him for probably, I guess, 10 or 12 years, as he kind of went off to be a pro coach and I went off to be a college coach. But, he was probably one of my first memories is I think Jeff could do 225 like 20 sometimes when we were like in 10th grade, like 11th grade when I moved there, and I certainly could not. So just being like, he was a great football player. He's an even better person, great family. He's a tremendous, he's a father of his son's a football player at Nebraska. He's got two great daughters, twins, and then a younger daughter, Jasmine, who's an all-state soccer player. Wife Laura is awesome. So, I knew Jeff for a long time, and it was a really good thing to get him to leave the NFL and come with us at Baylor, and he was part of that turnaround at Baylor, he came here with me, and so I just have a lot of trust in his work ethic. I mean, he'll put a lot of time into it. More importantly, I know how much he cares about players, and I think a large part of this that people don't see is the players have to know how much you care about them and you want them to be successful in order for them to go lay it on the line at the level that you're asking them to do. This is a hard thing physically, and I know Jeff has that care for players.
Do you recall the first time you remember him thinking that he could be a good coach someday? I know you made tapes for him. Was it in college or high school?
How'd you find out about that?
Yeah,
I made Jeff was like he was like one of those guys who was in Street and Smiths. He was like an all-state, all-American type, not all-American maybe, but like on those lists, the list that I didn't make it. And so as he was getting recruited back before all those things, I made his. I was digital enough that I could hook up 2 VCRs and put a soundtrack to it and make his highlight film for him. So. Pete Rock and CL Smooth was the music at the time. If you remember that, Bruce, but it was DOS Effects, a little bunch of things. So I had a little something. But I made his highlight tapes for him, and he went off to West Virginia as a scholarship player, and then eventually transferred back to Penn State. But so.
How does that familiarity with him, like, I'm assuming at Baylor, like, not that you're not upfront and honest with everybody, but can be particularly, maybe brutally honest with the guy you know so well.
I told Jeff when I came here he wasn't going to be the OC. I was going to ask him to come and be the senior offensive assistant. I don't do, there's, to me, like, I have tremendous friends. When I walk in this building, it's all about the Carolina Panthers and what's right for the Panthers. And so, now just familiarity with people, it kind of, like when Ron left here and went to Washington, he took a lot of people he had familiarity with it because it just lets you know what people are going to be like in good times and bad times, like in difficult times. You see what people are like after you have a big win. You see what people are like after you lose 2 in a row. And so that eliminates a lot more people than it adds in. But when you see guys like Frizz Jackson or Phil Snow or Jeff Nixon, when things are down and everyone's doubting you and does this work, and you see them just showing up and continuing to work, you're like, okay, I believe in that person. So, at the end of the day, I made this decision, because I could have made Frizz or Sean or all those guys. At the end of the day, Jeff's the one guy who has, coordinating experience, calling plays on the staff, and that just, to me, just seemed like a natural fit, because everyone thinks they can call plays until, you have 11 guys looking at you like, what's the next play? And, I don't know if they're going to zero blitz me or play cover 2, and you have to stand up and make a call, and everyone afterwards can say that was a good call or bad call. It's just really hard to make the call. And so Jeff's done that, and he's done it through good moments and bad moments, and so to me, that was a place of starting. So I like the way he's attacked us so far, and again, I'll say it, people kind of won't pay as much attention to it, but he's certainly not doing the whole game plan, just like Joe did and just like no OC did. Pat's coming up with runs, Andrew's coming up with these plays, Sean's coming up with third downs, Frizz is coming up with first, second down passes, and then we're all getting together and, hey, what's good, what's not good, and that's just the way Phil does it. So I think it's a really good collective effort. And I'll say this just because I like these guys. We have some really good young coaches, Matt Lombardi, Tony Sperano, Alonzo Escalante, Garrett McGuire, Grant Udinsky. Those guys, down a coach now, they've stepped up and they've done a really nice job.
When you look back at the first Atlanta game, what were you guys able to do effectively to run the ball the way you did that day?
We were in a lot of no huddle. And but at the end of the day, I just think I think our backs ran hard. I think our Paradis did a nice job. Michael Jordan played a really good game that game. Trent Scott, that was I think his first start. I think that was his first start, maybe second. But I think Trent played a good game in that game. So Cam, I thought those guys did nice jobs. Sam extended some third downs, let us stay on the field. But I thought the backs ran hard that game. Chuba ran hard. Amir was a little bit of a spark plug in that game for us. Then the defense, the defense played well and allowed us to just continue with running the ball because, it was 10-6, for a lot of the game. They had the lead. It wasn't like we just, got a head start. So I thought it was a team-type win, and obviously we took the ball away twice, which was important.
You guys seem a little bit rejuvenated, refreshed at practice coming out of this bye?
I think their bodies are way better. That was, I think Ellis asked me the other day, and I never want to make excuses, but they're certainly beat up. It's been, it's 17 games, first time in NFL history, right? So it's hard, right? It's hard to begin with. We have a very, very young team. So I asked Jeremy Chin and Taylor Moton have played more snaps. They played 3 more games worth of snaps than most guys on our team. I said, Chin, how do you feel? And he was like, I feel a lot better than I did last year. So that rookie year really takes a toll on people. I think the time off has been good for their bodies. I think like anybody, obviously the little time away, a chance to regroup, you kind of come back and you can refocus a little bit at the same time. I know they probably would have loved to play the next day after the Miami game. So, but I do think you can see guys like Shaq and those guys who, Shaq's played through a ton of things this year. Shaq Thompson's the ultimate, Carolina Panther in my mind. He's got a little more kick in his step right now because he's had a chance to take a bye and, get his legs back underneath him.
You had an officiating crew out there today. I know you do that at camp. What was the reason?
The reaction to the penalties, right? Just sort of like we tried to get it a couple weeks ago. Obviously we can't get rid of. There's no NFL officials, but they coordinated with us to get some ACC officials here. And if anything else other than just sometimes you throw things at problems, right? So just to show, hey, this is what's here. It's crazy about our penalties, and I hate. I'll share it with you guys because. I might have said this the other day, but the P10 they said about the first play to start a drive, on the last 54 plays to start a drive, last 54 drives, we started with 10 penalties. So our penalties are actually happening on the first play of drives. And so, when you have those things, what is it? Is it a lack of discipline? Yes, at times it is. Don't get me wrong. It's also sometimes you're trying so hard to win because you care about the team that you're just doing a little too much, not technique. So I think for our guys, hearing that was like, wow, we are really hurting ourselves at times. So you try to arm guys with information. You eliminate guys. To be quite honest, you play someone else if someone's just a serial penalty guy. Bring officials in, watch tape, point it out. So we're just trying to attack it in a multitude of ways, and then at the same time continuing to coach technique because a lot of the issues, holds don't happen because a guy doesn't care. Holds happen because a guy's trying to make his block and his hands get a little bit outside, and sometimes it can be a little arbitrary, because holds happen in a lot of different plays, but a savvy player lets go, and so those things are hurting us. So we brought officials out just to get their eyes on it. We did it all camp. We had very few penalties in camp. We had very few penalties early in the year. As the year's gone on, we've gotten more penalties. Didn't have very many penalties today. I think we had one false start. So hopefully it carries over.
Does the proliferation penalties cause you to have a shorter leash on guys, or even the serial offenders?
Well, I don't think it's any. There's one guy who has a couple of them, but I think when you have two guys of equal, thing that you can rotate one over the other. We've sat some guys at times, but when they're up on the offensive line, we don't have a tremendous amount of offensive linemen right now with all the injuries. So we just got to keep coaching the guys that are out there, and my job is to coach the guys. So yeah, if I have the luxury of hey, it's this guy or this guy, I can move a guy kind of like on the D line. We have a lot of bodies, but if it's a position like the offensive line, where most of our penalties are coming from the D line, right, and from the offensive line. We're just getting guys ready every week. Obviously losing a couple guys this week was really tough.
We'll go a couple more.
I know you have Brady kind of moving in at guard, and you said you probably would put Cam at left tackle. Do you think Brady's just a better fit at guard, or is Cam just a better fit at tackle, or are you just trying it out?
Yeah, when Cam's played good at left tackle, except for he has struggled a little bit in the Cowboys game, but when Cam's played, he's played well enough for us to win. Brady's more of a guard body. He's played tackle at times, but his future is probably more as a guard center type. he's got athleticism and flexibility to go out there, but not quite the size and length of the premier left tackles. So when we drafted him, we thought he'd be a good guard, and a really good guard in time, and a good tackle, and that's what he's been. He's been a utility guy. The problem for Brady, I tell Brady all the time, hang in there, I promise you're going to be a good player, is he's just playing so many different positions because he's not a starter, right? So same thing happens to Dennis. They got to play. They practice all week at right guard, and the guy goes down, all of a sudden they're playing the whole game at left tackle. That is not that's difficult, but that's where we are right now, and they have to adapt to it, So I just think for us, it's, Brady can play guard. Cam would not be able to go inside and play guard. And, Dennis has been playing tackle. Dennis at least has experience at guard. So if Cam's back, Dennis would go inside. Brady would go inside, and those would be the guys. Those would be the positions the guys have the most time at.
Hey, Matt, you talked about on Monday you were a little undecided in terms of when PJ Walker played off. Have you decided at all if you might see some action, or is it going to be exclusively Cam again? What do you think?
Yeah, I think we'll have a plan for PJ. Whether we get to it or not, I don't think it'll depend on how the game goes. But we have some plays that are kind of PJ plays that he has the most things that we'd like to do that Cam hasn't had a lot of time in. Obviously PJ's got a lot more time on task in the offense, so we have that as a possibility. And then we get in the game and see how it goes, right? I mean, if it's like Washington where Cam takes us right down the field, then we might stick with him longer. I mean, we might mix it up. So we haven't even watched the practice tape from today, to be quite honest with you, to see how things look. But I think that was the thought process for us is, any good player that we have, let's use them to go win these games. And so Atlanta's going to be a tremendous challenge. They're a really good team, so we're going to have to use everybody. So if PJ can help us win, we'll use him.
In Dante's absence, do you anticipate you guys will be able to rotate defensive backs as you have, or do you think guys, like Stephon are going to have to step up and play more snaps?
I mean, Stephon played like 47 snaps in the last game, so I don't know how many more than that he'll get to. I think that's the number. You guys might count it, might be 40-some, but I asked today because I'm making sure we have the right numbers, and they had him at 47. So I don't know if Stephon will be like a 70 play guy, but I think in that 40 to 55 play range is probably right for him. Rashawn Melvin's a guy that broke his hand. He's back now. I like when Rashawn plays a lot. Obviously AJ's played a lot of football. CJ's been coming on. I think CJ's playing really good football for us. Keith started for us. So, part of it for us, we have so many like 4-corner packages, on third down and all that. So those guys have a tendency to get reps anyway. But I think Stephon will probably be in that range, hopefully 40 to 55, and then, see how he feels.
You mentioned with Brady that lack of length, and you guys have talked about that before. Where does that show up at tackle versus guard, and where does that become a liability? Yeah,
when you're playing guard, the guy's so close to you, so it's really about, you still want to be able to have hand dominance and hand control and strike, but it's not really about getting my hands and keeping them off me. If anything, I don't want a lot of separation at the guard position. I want to get my hands on guys, and that's why you want big, barrel-chested, strong, powerful men with arms. We want length at every position. Let's start there. But on the inside of such close quarters, quickness, power, balance, all those things can compensate. And Brady does not have not long arms. He has good arms. As I get out to the tackle positions, the premier left and right tackles have 34, not really, more 35, more 36-inch arms, guys like Taylor Moton, because there's so much more distance. And if I wait till the guy gets right up on top of me as he's running full speed with a 7-yard head start, as he meets me at the junction point, and I don't have long arms, and I can't keep him off me, now he can run me over. Then I try to set because I don't have long arms. I try to punch him, and all of a sudden he swims me. So having guys like Taylor Moton, having the premier left tackles in the league with the long arms, they're able to play with balance and still keep guys off their body. So guards, centers, they can be more powerful inside because they don't have as much of, there's closer quarters. As they get out and the speed rushers get wide and come hit you running 4-5, you need to have arm length to keep them off of you. So it really just comes down to pass pro, not really run blocking.